white people have been dominant for hundreds of years. White people have been given opportunities without
20, 30 years ago, yes.
I mean, let's talk about, well, no, you can't say that.
So
like
what could be another reason?
Talent.
So black people are more talented than white.
Preference.
In this video from 2 years ago, Andrew Gold asks Eni Aluko one question that really exposes whether the DEI diversity agenda is actually about equality or if it's about something much more sinister. So we're going to watch and I'm going to show you some more receipts at the end. Let's dive in.
Okay, so another stat, just to bear out my point then, is that 3% of the UK population are black, and 8.1% of TV characters on screen are black. So if this is meritocracy and it's nothing to do with quotas and trying to push people up, is the assumption then that black people are just 2.5 times better at acting, newsreading, and those kinds of things?
Good question.
Maybe.
Really?
I mean,
so because for years,
why not?
But for years when it was that were white people, there were more white people per person of the population, saying something like that would be considered racist.
Saying something like what?
White people are just better at TV presenting and news presenting and stuff.
Well, when I mean, white people have been dominant for hundreds of years, right?
Sure.
So that has been the assumption that.
But a wrong assumption. I mean, these are the assumptions that like Hitler made, that the white Ubermensch were better than anyone else, and we came to realize as society.
I'm not sitting here saying black people are better than anybody else. I'm just saying.
What explains it? The 2.5 times more likely to be on TV in the UK.
I mean, there's a variety of reasons, but I don't think we should sit here and say because there's a disproportionate amount of black people on TV that the only reason for that is DEI.
So
like
what could be another reason?
Talent.
So black people are more talented than white.
Preference. But
where does that preference come from if not a pressure for DEI?
But again, we go back to it. What pressure for DEI? What I mean, does the film industry like?
Yeah,
again,
they
I'm
do have
talking about.
quotas,
I'm talking about my industry, and I'm saying the assumption that I'm in the job because I'm a black woman and tick a box is constantly leveled at me, despite how qualified I am for the job. Yeah. So, and I'm saying there is no DEI tick box,
but there is.
The BBC literally spend £100 million on diversity in their creative department.
They all use them. That's what Diamond Diversity is. It's to keep the TV channels in check.
It's just false.
They have to have a certain number of ethnic minorities.
Where is this coming from?
Well, I first heard it. I first heard it when I was told I can't be on TV.
You did.
But loads of people have been told that. You just don't know who they are because they've never been on TV.
You have to talk about your own experience. I have to talk about my own experience.
Well, I'm talking about facts. I'm talking about 2.5 times.
What you've done is you've highlighted the amount of people in an industry
on screen
disproportionate to the
yes.
Yeah. And you're attributing that to DEI policies.
I think the reason that
exists.
Forgive me if I'm wrong. I think one of the reasons that you're resistant to this is because of the assumption that you're there, specifically you.
Yeah, and it's a really racist assumption.
You are extremely talented.
When it comes to punditry, I mean, it's no, just no.
And it seems like you were there based on talent.
Right.
However, some black people are there not necessarily because of talent, and the proof of that is the percentages. Unless black people are just better.
But some white people have been given opportunities without
20, 30 years ago, yes.
I mean, let's talk about, well, no, you can't say that.
But I can because of the stats. White men are now the least likely to get a job on screen on TV based on the figures. There are more of them in general because the population, there are far more white people.
It's Britain.
But yes, there are fewer on TV per person of the population, unless black people are just better.
But there's certain industries that one type is more dominant than the other. You look at basketball, it's predominantly black because black people are really good at basketball. You look at, I don't know, I'm thinking chess. I mean, chess, I love chess, but there's not many black women that are very good at chess. I don't know.
But these are measurable competitions.
No.
The gaslighting is absolutely insane. She's trying to tell you that there is no grand diversity agenda, that, the numbers are just speaking to the fact that black people are better on screen. And in fact, from her perspective, it's a good thing because white people have been dominant for hundreds of years in England and Britain, which is like majority white. So if there's no DEI agenda, then why does the BBC spend £80 million per year of TV license payer money, mind you, on diversity on screen? And why does ITV also spend £80 million per year? They didn't want to get left behind. If there's no diversity agenda and everything's just about meritocracy, like Eni Aluko says, then where's all this money going? It's obviously a lie. And the fact she thinks that you're so stupid that you won't be able to notice is a big problem. My question is, if diversity is all about representation and giving people a fair shot, then why are Black people so overrepresented in media? And why isn't it a problem that people want to address? So Black people, 4% of England and Wales right now in England, and white people, 81%, which you'd expect, right? It's England. We're in Britain. And yet, according to Channel 4, Black people feature in 50%, over 50% of ads on TV. Now, you cannot tell me that if this is about representation of the country, that 50% of communities, 50% of households, 50% of towns and cities have, local councils, boroughs, have Black people there, because that actually just isn't the case. And there are loads of parts of the country where you will not see a Black face. So it means that Black people are being overrepresented. And so if diversity was just about representation, wouldn't you actually want to address that? Now, some people will be looking at me thinking, bro, like, why are you so upset? You should be happy about this. This is a good thing. I'm like, well, maybe it's good for the people who are in this advert. But I tell you for a fact, like, my life is completely unchanged by the fact that people like Eni Aluko get more opportunities on TV. Like, it absolutely, it impacts my life in no beneficial way whatsoever. Like, I'm telling you, those boys running around Tottenham High Street, West Green Road, Wood Green, stabbing each other up, their lives are not getting better because we have more representation on screen. In fact, I used to live on the street that to drive to church every single Sunday, I'd have to drive past a mural or memorial that was for my brother's best friend because he had been stabbed on that road. So that's where I'm driving past every single week. I'm telling you, more Black people on screen isn't actually solving a lot of the problems that people from where I came from are experiencing. So no, I don't look at this and think, hurrah, fantastic, because I realize that it's only really benefiting some of the elites at the top and a few token people when you see these kind of things. But again, if diversity was all about representation, then actually, wouldn't you want to see an even representation of Black people, white people on screen, and increase the amount of white people that you have featuring on screens, increase the amount of white men you have coming up on screens? Like, wouldn't you want to see that? But of course, someone like Eni Aluko would hear that and say, no, that's racist. That's racist. But if diversity was really about representation, then why is it in so many industries and so many sectors, it's actually acceptable to explicitly discriminate against white people, against people on the basis that they are white? Like, this story blew my mind. The RAF, the people who are responsible for protecting us, keeping us safe, were actively discriminating against white men. In fact, there was an email from one of the squadron leaders. Let me turn this down so you can hear. You don't need to hear it. Email from one of the squadron leaders where they literally said, I would be grateful if you could provide a breakdown of candidates awaiting boarding by branch and BAME. I noted that the boards have recently been predominantly white male heavy. If we don't have enough BAME and female to board, then we need to make the decision to pause boarding. So we're going to actually stop taking on new recruits because we haven't got enough representation. It gets worse though. And seek more BAME and females from the RF. Look at the bottom. I don't really need to see loads of useless white male pilots. Let's get as focused as possible. Do you see that? So diversity is supposed to be about representation, but it's acceptable within some of our highest institutions and the people who are there to keep us safe for them to talk about the majority demographic as useless white males. Like, that is absolutely ridiculous. And of course, it's because the truth is that diversity isn't really about fairness and representation. It's actually about envy and trying to address these historical grievances. Because for many people, they have this idea that the rest of the world's problems and every other race's problems are literally down to the actions of white men. And so they For them, it's actually a good thing that you have overrepresentation of other races, or you have certain areas where white people come out on the bottom, or they can speak about white people in that way, because from their perspective, they're just countering the balance. They're just, paying back what happened beforehand. Now, not only is that historically inaccurate, because most countries, in fact, are their own worst enemies, and Britain has done much good around the world. Like, you literally couldn't count how much good has come out of Britain for the rest of the world. And I know this, someone who's of West African descent. Even today, I can see many of the good things that came out of Britain in the countries that my parents originate from. But it's also a horrible way for you to try and build a society, because you're just going to get people who are angry at each other, and you're going to get people who don't actually treat others fairly. You're going to get the predominant demographic, and they're going to become angry because they're seeing what's unfair, seeing themselves having to pay for the supposed crimes of other people. And that's not what we want to see. And then on top of that, you're going to get terrible pundits like Eni Aluko appearing on screen, giving horrible commentary, and then feeling entitled to do so. Like, honestly, watching football matches these days is a drag, because it's so clear where the agenda is. And we don't need it. Britain is a country that's founded on Christian morality, and Christian morality says that we are all equal before the law and all equal in the image of God. Whether you come from one race or another doesn't make you more deserving of help than another. It just means you need to look at everybody as individuals, let the best succeed so that they can bless other people, and have a society of people that work hard. But this the woke mind virus is not going anywhere anytime soon. But to see another example of it being brilliantly exposed, check out the video on your screen. I know you'll be blessed by it. I'll see you there. Peace and blessings.